Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome back to Living the Creative Act. I'm Full Q Developer, and we do this every Sunday at 2 p.m. We read a little bit of this book, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, and talk about it a little bit in order to increase our capacity for creativity. Thanks so much for joining in. The background today is from the Jackie Kennedy Onassis Reservoir in Central Park, and we're looking east as the sun sets. And one thing to look for is there's going to be lots of airplanes taking off in the background. Hopefully they come through on camera. It gets pretty frequent. Also, the new iPhone came out. Happy new iPhone Day to all who celebrate. I got the guava case, and it's gorgeous. This background was recorded on the iPhone 14, and I went until I ran out of battery. I had a really good spot, so I was able to go for a while. So it's time for me to invest in that mobile battery. Okay, let's hop into the reading. So this is from pages 121 to 123 of The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. He writes, "Innocence brings forth innovation. A lack of knowledge can create more openings to break new ground. The Ramones thought they were making mainstream bubblegum pop. To most others, the lyrical content alone about lobotomies, sniffing glue, and pinheads was enough to challenge this assumption. While the band saw themselves as the next Bay City Rollers, they unwittingly invented punk rock and started a countercultural revolution. While the music of the Bay City Rollers had great success in its time, the Ramones' singular take on rock and roll became more popular and influential. Of all the explanations of the Ramones, the most apt may be innovation through ignorance. Experience provides wisdom to draw from, but it tempers the power of naivete. The past can be a teacher, offering tried and true methods, familiarity with the standards of the craft, awareness of potential risks, and in some cases, virtuosity. It lures us into a pattern that absolves us from the opportunity to engage innocently with the task at hand. The more ingrained your adopted approach, the harder it is to see past it. Though experience doesn't roll out innovation, it can make it more difficult to access. Animals, like children, don't have a hard time making a decision. They act out of innate instinct, not learned behavior. This primitive force packs an ancient wisdom that science has yet to catch up with. These childlike superpowers include being in the moment, having no regard for consequences, being radically honest without consideration, and having the ability to freely move from one emotion to the next without holding on to story. For children, each moment in time is all there is. No future, no past. I want it now. I'm hungry. I'm tired. All pure authenticity. These great artists throughout history are the ones able to maintain this childlike enthusiasm and exuberance naturally. Just as an infant is selfish, they're protective of their art in a way that's not always cooperative. Their needs as a creator come first, often at the expense of their personal lives and relationships. For one of the most loved songwriters of all time, I wish he said who this was. For one of the most loved songwriters of all time, if inspiration comes through, it takes precedence over other obligations. His friends and family understand that in the middle of a meal, conversation, or event, if a song calls, he'll exit the scene and tend to it without explanation. Accessing childlike spirit in our art and our lives is worth aspiring to. It's simple to do if you haven't accumulated too many fixed habits and thoughts. If you have, it's very difficult, nearly impossible. A child has no set of premises it relies on to make sense of the world. It may serve you to do the same. Any label you assume before sitting down to create, even one as foundational as sculptor, rapper, author, or entrepreneur, could be doing more harm than good. Strip away the labels. Now, how do you see the world? Try to experience everything as if for the first time. If you grew up in a landlocked town that you never left, the first time you traveled and saw the ocean would likely be a dramatic, awe-inspiring experience. If you spent your whole life living near the ocean, your experience of it would almost certainly be less dramatic. When you see what's present around you as if for the first time, you start realizing how astonishing it all is. As artists, we aim to live in a way in which we see the extraordinary hidden in the seemingly mundane, then challenge ourselves to share what we see in a way that allow others a glimpse of this remarkable beauty. Wow. Yeah. So that's the reading. And I love how he talks about this idea of being landlocked and seeing the ocean for the first time. Like, I'm totally a tourist living in New York, and I love it. I love walking around New York. I love biking around New York. And it really lines up with these longer shots. Because I guess when watching tourists, they take, one thing about them is they do take a lot of short shots of things. And I definitely feel a little self-conscious recording these backgrounds, except when I like commit to like being there for like an hour, then I ease into it. I ease into just looking at what I'm looking at and enjoying it and clearing my head for the day or for the week. It's like taking a deeper drink of a scene, and watching the transition, because it's after work, watching the transition of, the day to evening. He also talks about rejecting labels. That was, where was that? Yeah, right here. It may serve you to drop all labels, even if it's foundational, it's like a sculptor, etc. And I feel like this is something that's kind of been I'm hearing more about it more recently, of the multi-potentialite. I mean, if you look back at like a lot of the old masters, like Leonardo, like they all did all kinds of things. Newton, Descartes, like Descartes was a philosopher and also invented the Cartesian system. Like they all did like multiple things, right? And I'm not sure how, well, I know for sure that I can't focus on one thing. Yes, my primary way to make money is I am a programmer. I make apps. That's my full-time job. And then on the side, I'm doing this photography stuff. I'm doing this streaming, and this stream has basically zero relation to do with programming. I mean, to me it does, but it's not as direct, right? This is more of a, I don't even know, like philosophy stream. And I guess what I'm saying is it's so nice to hear someone of Rick Rubin's, background to sort of say something like this. Because yeah, this is this is what I do. I am all those things: entrepreneur, app developer, musician. Got my guitars back there, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, other people are able to focus. They're able to do kind of one thing. They're able to commit to playing a guitar really well. They're able to commit to dancing really well, and that's not me, I guess. And everyone that has a label doesn't all feel the same way, right? Like even app developer is like maybe a smaller set of developers, but they're not all the same. They all care about different things, right? So yeah, here he's talking about being a child. These childlike superpowers include being in the moment, and I feel like there's as software developers or maybe as Americans, I'm not sure how far to generalize this to. Uh, Maybe as rationalists, as as Western rationalists, uh, the brain is very prized, right? Like through our brain, we can teach ourselves to program. We can teach our body to play piano. We can practice something and get better at it. Our brain like teaches our body, and then soon it becomes second nature, right? The brain is the chief of the body. In my experience in the past few years, I feel like the brain is more just a part of the body, while still very powerful, honestly. But I feel like the body also has a lot to say. Um, and as I dive into meditation and therapy, I am more aware of the things my body is trying to say to me, and that's been very helpful. And that's something I do apply to my programming. Like if when I'm like designing a view or a class or something, and it just doesn't feel right, like I'm able to listen into that better and rethink it. Like, oh, this could be better. This could be better. I feel this slight discomfort. Let me think again. Let me make it better. So it's like anything outside the brain is called a feeling, like a gut feeling, or I feel it in my heart or something. Uh, I'm not sure I have another observation on top of that about feelings. Just noticing. And he talks. I guess he's talking about like this is what children or animals do. Like they go on instinct, and that's fine. Like we can choose to go with instinct, or we can choose to go with our brain. We can choose to go with our body. As we become more aware of these things, we have more of a choice. We have more options. We have more freedom. Let's see. What's one place where I have sort of done this beginner's mindset? Um, I guess you only know like afterwards if it worked out or not, right? I guess I'm still very much a beginner when it comes to photography. I feel I got some pointers recently from a friend who's more into it than me, and that was helpful. Um, but I guess a lot of my framing is still based on instinct. I have not taken a class on on how to frame a photo or a shot or anything. just kind of going by instinct. And so far that's working out. Someone said recently, like, all these shots look good. And that made me so happy.